Sometimes the biggest statement in global politics isn't a fiery speech or a fancy treaty. It's just an empty chair. And that empty chair might have just signaled a massive, massive shift in American foreign policy. So let's break down what's going on.
Okay, so here's the mystery we're unpacking today. The U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was a no-show at some pretty urgent NATO talks in Brussels. Now, for an alliance that's all about unity, having the top diplomat from your most powerful member just not be there, that is a huge deal. The big question is, why?
To really get how unusual this is, you got to look at this number. It is the first time a U.S. Secretary of State has skipped a NATO meeting like this since 1999. Yeah, we're talking about breaking a precedent that's held for over 2 decades. So this wasn't just some scheduling mix-up, this was absolutely a deliberate choice. And that choice, it tells us everything about a new priority. It seems the administration is shifting its gaze away from those traditional alliances in Europe and making a really dramatic pivot south, right toward Latin America. This is where we start to find our why. And here you have it, the official reason, straight from Secretary Rubio himself. This one sentence just perfectly sums up the new thinking. Protect the homeland first. It's like they're redrawing the map of what matters most. And you know what? Europe is no longer smack dab in the center. This chart really lays out the whole strategic shift, side by side. The old focus, right? Europe, NATO, global conflicts. That's being swapped out for a laser focus on Latin America. And we're talking specifics. Venezuela, regional security threats, and, a big one, pushing back against China's growing influence right in America's backyard. It's a complete 180.
And let me be clear, this policy change isn't just a bunch of talk. Oh no, it is already translated into direct aggressive action. The administration has basically declared a new kind of war in the region, and as they're putting it, they are taking the gloves off.
So what does taking the gloves off actually look like on the ground, or, I guess, on the water? Well, it means U.S. naval forces are actively hunting down and striking boats in the Caribbean that they suspect are smuggling drugs. These boats are allegedly tied to the Venezuelan government, and the stated mission is simple: cut off the flow of narcotics that they say are poisoning American communities.
And wow, if you want to know just how aggressive this new doctrine is, listen to this quote from Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth. The language is just incredibly blunt, putting narcoterrorists at the bottom of the ocean. There's absolutely no room for interpretation there. This is a no-holds-barred campaign.
Now, this aggressive new approach has led to its most controversial part. The policy reportedly includes a Leave No Survivors directive for the naval forces carrying out these strikes. And that, as you can imagine, raises some really serious legal and ethical questions.
And this gets us to the key question that lawmakers and critics are hammering on. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. When you blow up a boat, what happens to the people who are on it? The whole idea of a Leave No Survivors policy is something that, well, it demands some serious answers.
So when Secretary Rubio was pressed on this exact issue, he didn't really answer the survivors question head-on. Instead, he just doubled down on the mission. His focus is crystal clear: take out the boats. In his view, the people piloting them are guilty of attacking the U.S. by trafficking drugs.
So you're probably asking, how do they justify this legally? Well, here's the key. They did it by officially designating the Maduro government in Venezuela as a foreign terrorist organization. That label, from their perspective, gives them the legal framework they need to take this kind of direct military action.
But, and this is a big but, that justification is not going unchallenged, not by a long shot. Congress is now taking a very, very close look at whether these strikes are actually legal. The administration has its rationale, sure, but this debate is far from over.
So let's take a step back and connect the dots here. Because all of this, from skipping that NATO meeting to sinking boats in the Caribbean, it all starts to form a very cohesive, if very controversial, foreign policy. We can finally see the bigger picture. And this table here just lays it out perfectly. You see all the key players and how they are completely aligned. You've got President Trump ordering the take the gloves off approach. You've got Hegseth at the Pentagon executing it with that fierce language. And you've got Rubio providing the strategic and diplomatic cover. They are all quite literally on the same page. And if you want to boil this entire thing down to just one single idea, this is it. This is the engine driving the whole machine. Every single decision, whether it's snubbing an ally or striking a boat, gets run through one simple filter. Does this serve the direct, immediate interests of the American people?
So, the United States has thrown a bold, new playbook onto the world stage. It's aggressive, it's focused on its own hemisphere, and it's unapologetically America first. But this all leaves us with one final and pretty huge question. What happens to old allies, old rules, and global stability when the game itself is being fundamentally changed?